Hey Bat fans, Luke here back for my next installment of Batmas 2020, and today we're going to take a look at the story Red Hood: The Lost Days. This trade collects the six-issue miniseries called Red Hood: The Lost Days, and this, in essence, gives the origin story to Red Hood Jason Todd proper. Before we go any further, we need to spend just a couple minutes talking about the Jason Todd character. I like Jason Todd, and I like Red Hood. And a lot of people, I think he's kind of a mixed bag. I think it depends on how he's written. To be perfectly honest, there's been kind of different interpretations of the Red Hood character. I think Scott Lobdell, he was basically one for three, to be perfectly honest, in his run, even going into the New 52. Yeah, the opening part of the New 52 where we had Red Hood and the Outlaws with obviously Jason Todd, Arsenal, and Starfire, which it had peaks and valleys in that run, but to be honest, eh, it, it was okay. But definitely it had its parts that was good. In some cases, those were issues Lobdell didn't write. And then they had bad. Then we had the uh, the next iteration of that, which was Red Hood and Arsenal, which was just abysmal, to be perfectly honest. Then Rebirth happened, and we had Red Hood and the Outlaws. This time, we had Artemis and Bizarro with Red Hood, and that was just superb. So, like, up to, like, issue 24, 25 ish, somewhere floating around there. It was just awesome. And then after that, you kind of have a little bit of a transformation of character, a little bit, where Liddell tried to kind of save it. I just, to be honest, I think it just kind of morphed into not good. But that was recent. But you have to go way back um, to obviously pre New 52 with his origin. You can kind of see in single issues, but you had this story. I actually did a video review for. If I can remember, I'll put it in a link below. The trade called Second Chances that kind of told the story of Jason Todd. And then obviously we know Death of the Family, the fans voted him to be killed off in that story, and for the most part, that happened, and he pretty much was gone. Up until this story called Batman Hush. In Hush, we do see an appearance of Jason Todd. But the way the story kind of unfolds, not to spoil Hush, which I'm assuming a lot of people read it, but just in case you haven't, all we see is not necessarily what it appears. To be perfectly honest, but there's something in this book, which I will talk about here toward the end, that kind of contradicts that. That maybe what we did see in that story was really what was the truth. Um, but neither here nor there. But then we had the story Batman Under the Red Hood, which was really the the reintroduction of Jason Todd into modern continuity, utilizing the moniker of Red Hood, using that same kind of concept, but of the person who ultimately killed him, the Joker, kind of his own twist to the Red Hood uh, mantle, if you would. And that story was actually um, conceptualized in an animated movie, Batman Under the Red Hood. It was actually really, really good. And then from there, you saw in Batman, and I'm sorry, in Grant Morrison's Batman run, where we saw a different kind of take of the Red Hood character, the Red Hood, right hand of vengeance. Even back up even before that, in the Batman and Robin run, you actually had any Battle for the Cow. He showed up. And then also the Batman Robin run. So he's been sprinkled around, like I said, into another evolution, into New 52 slash Rebirth modern continuity. And to be honest, again, I like him, but he's very, very divisive character. Some people like him, some people hate him. I don't know if there's much middle ground to it. I used to say he was my favorite Robin. I've evolved that since then, I still think he might be one of my favorite Bat Family characters outside of Batman. And that I might be kind of tossed up between Nightwing, Damian. Can't really for sure, but he's one of my favorites. And I do look forward to reading his books again. Like I said, there's been peaks and valleys throughout, but again, very divisive character. But what we haven't really seen, and we saw in and Under the Red Hood, in the book and in the animated movie, is not really again like a flushed out kind of origin of this Red Hood persona, where we kind of saw glimpses of what the Red Hood would do, kind of the anti-hero, not necessarily constrained to uh, the vows, the motives, the code of conduct of Batman, willing to do what was necessary, to plunge Gotham of the criminals that kind of go through the revolving door of Arkham and Blackgate. Kind of saw that in some stories, in during his time in Robin. This one really flushes it out. And how did really he come back to life? This is where you kind of need to know. This story literally picks up where Jason Todd has come back to life. And to kind of really understand that, you kind of have to read, having a total brain fart right now, but you have to, there it is. You have to read Infinite Crisis. In Infinite Crisis, Superboy does something which kind of shatters, the main continuity of DC at the time, and with that, you have the rebirth of Jason, and this really picks up as literally Jason Todd has escaped the clutches of his burial in a coffin, and he's come back. But he's come back, and the mental capacities are not necessarily fully formed yet. He's like in a quasi like zombie state, and Talia has brought him back with her. Why is that? Keep in mind, this is not fully what we would know as Talia in like the Batman Incorporated portion of Grant Morrison's run. This is someone who's still kind of walking that line between being an international terrorist, but still being somewhat of a good person at heart. And I know that's going to sound really odd to say, but with that is her deep affection for Bruce Wayne. And when she finds out, obviously, that Jason Todd has died, and she knows that's Robin, that's going to have a huge mental effect on Bruce. So she kind of wants to. It's never really necessarily said 100%, but it is implied that obviously she kind of wants to use that as a gift for Bruce to maybe woo him back to her, which obviously Ra's al Ghul is not really having any of. But ultimately, what she realizes again is that he's not fully formed. One way that he can fully come back is through the use of the Lazarus pit, which again Ra's al Ghul is not having, but Talia kind of pulls a quick one and ultimately does put him into the Lazarus pit and helps him flee the castle of the Al Ghuls. And with that, just like anything else you kind of read, one of the side effects of the Lazarus pit is you kind of lose a lot of your sanity, even though he was quasi a zombie in the first place. But this really pushes some of the violent tendencies. Your mental stability kind of goes away as one of the side effects, and this is really again kind of that Red Hood right hand of vengeance kind of personality kind of gets birthed from the fact that he was thrown in the Lazarus pit, and that is one of the side effects of that. With that, in his escape, Talia again kind of keeps tabs on him, ultimately wanting to send him to Gotham and obviously see Batman. But with that, he needs training. And this is kind of like using kind of a a play on the concept of Batman in his early days, having to go see all these different people. You see the masters, the escape artists, the manhunters, the detectives, and he learns all those skills, become the crime fighter that he's going to be. Well, Jason Todd does that exactly, but there's a little twist in this. Again, I'm kind of used like the Black Mirror concept. And if you read Scott Snyder's Black Mirror, you might get the reference I'm getting ready to say. The Black Mirror, what Batman has done with the training and the people he trained with, the Black Mirror to that is Jason Todd, where he's getting some of those same skills, but the people that are training him are like the worst of the worst. There's terrorists, there's child traffickers, drug dealers. So often what he does, he gets the training from them, but he can't let them go. Again, he's kind of that anti-hero at this point right now, and he's got to take them out after the fact. And a large chunk of this story is actually his interaction with this one Russian gang after he busts up this child trafficking ring that actually tried to stage a terrorist attack in London through these bombs that he saw with one of his previous trainers that taught him how to do bombs. He busts that up. But again, this is someone where there's some redeeming qualities. He's an anti-hero at this point. And this kind of flushes out again that side effect of being doused in the waters of the Lazarus pit, what could actually happen. And all through this, you kind of see some backflashes or even current day conversations with Talia and Jason in this, where Jason realizes what's happening. Hey, I get what you're doing. You kind of want me to go back to Gotham, almost use me as a way to kind of get back with Bruce, but there's a twist in that, and this kind of goes to where I know where you can kind of put this in your timeline, which I'll hold up in a minute. But it's something that happened with her father, which Talia blames Batman almost directly. So now this might not be a motive to get with Bruce, or now not even kill Bruce, but a way to get back at him, make him suffer. How do you make him suffer? You go back to Gotham and you take it over. Do the things he's not willing to do. Cross that line, as she actually says here a couple times, to make the power of the bat go away. That's the best way we can get back at Batman. There is an interaction with Joker here. You kind of flush out again some of the. There's another kind of plot, terrorist plot that he thwarts, which actually kind of play on Joker's first big plot of poisoning the Gotham Reservoir. Something very similar to that, which Jason Todd busts up, and he actually gets the chance to take out the Joker himself one-on-one. And ultimately, he elects not to do it. And it's not because he's remorseful. It's that the time wasn't right. He wants to do it, but it's going to be on his more ideal terms. And it kind of leaves off on that. Again, some other fleshing out, really. But what's good about this story is that, again, it kind of fleshes out the details on the origin of Red Hood. So now when you read you Hush and you read Batman Under the Red Hood, things kind of make more sense. So where do you actually put this in your timeline? Well, first off, I can say also you can know this is after Batman Death and the Maidens, because it's actually referenced here, like I said before, something that happened to her father, Talia. Spoiler, obviously, but Ra's al Ghul dies. So it's kind of a reference to the Death of the Maiden story, where she actually blames Batman directly. But, so it's after that, and some people can kind of put this either right before or right after Hush. I'm putting it right before Hush. And the reason being is literally the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the last 5 pages, the 5th page of the last one after that, is a conversation between Jason Todd and Hush. And if you remember when I said that things are not all that it appears in what we see in Jason and Red Hood's or Jason Todd's return in Hush. Read this and you kind of get the gist. So that's where in the timeline, to me, I'm putting it right before Hush, but I see some people kind of like to put it right after. But to me, again, this kind of puts the context, putting it right before, for mainly because of there's 2 pages right there, kind of sums it up for me. And honestly, this is before Under the Red Hood. So all in all, I think this is a good story. Nothing's gonna wow you, but again, it's context. The art, you actually have 2 artists, Pablo Raimondi and Jeremy Hahn, which every time I hear Jeremy Hahn's name, I kind of cringe a little bit. I know that's the artist with, I'm not going to say his name, Batwoman in the end of the New 52 just kind of tanked after J.H. Williams, third left. He was on there, so it's kind of like you kind of get guilt by association a little bit. But I thought the art, almost there's some parts where it almost looks very like Jock-ish, like Jock was doing the art, but I liked it. I thought the art was good, not great, but good, and really keeps in line with kind of like the story that's being told. Bad wise, there's one bearing. It's glaring bad in this, and I don't want to really spoil it too much because again, I'm coming to keep some meat on the bone here. There's a twist on the relationship and interaction between Jason Todd and Talia, which I just don't agree with. I'm just sorry, I just don't. And you'll get it. It's toward the end, and I don't know. It just didn't seem. It's out of character, I think, for both individuals, and I just think it was unnecessary at all. It almost kind of contradicts the whole reason why Talia initially brought Jason Todd under her wing in the first place. But neither here nor there. Whatever. That's really the only bad I have with this story. Everything else, just keeping it in context. Again, it's kind of flushing, giving more of a credibility of Jason Todd's return. Because again, if you just leave with what Superboy Prime did in Infinite Crisis, it's just like the. But now you introduce that with the Lazarus pit. It kind of it makes more sense, and again, it really does flushes out some of those empty. I don't want to not necessarily plot holes, but it corrects a lot of the things that would be necessary once you start seeing stories again like Hush and Under the Red Hood, and then after that and beyond, just kind of makes sense of what's going on, really, and really forms a character. Jason Todd, I think this has really helped kind of evolve that character into where he is obviously today, and it's an evolution that I think it's continuing even to this day. But one that I enjoy, and that's part of the reasons why I like this. Again, it just kind of provides more matter. Keep saying that over and over again. It just provides more context. So only really one bad, but all in all, I think you do have to go in there with some expectations. I think this is readily available. I don't think this is very hard to find. It's $15 for six issues. This is almost like a requisite for the Jason Todd fans out there and Red Hood. But all in all, everything else, if you just want more flushed out background information with the Bat family, why Jason Todd is the way he is, why is there such a rift, why does he do the things that he does, is all provides more context to it. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. To me, some people might put it a little bit lower, some people a little bit higher. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it. So hit me up in the comments below. If you read this story, you want to bat chat about the Red Hood, I'd love to do that. And we will do that and kind of go from there. So until next video, take care.